Well, let's get into the conversation now as we continue with our coverage as a build-up to the ANC's 113th anniversary celebrations. And again, the party's quest to regain lost ground, particularly in the province of the Western Cape. Let's speak to ANC veteran, and that's Reverend Frank Chikane. Reverend, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. I am not sure whether you are aware of what happened today in Khayelitsha, but perhaps as a way to jog your memory, if perhaps you may not have seen this, I'd like for the viewers as well who may be interacting with it for the first time to just have a listen to what actually happened around the Deputy President as he visited one of the homes in Khayelitsha.
Leave, leave, leave! All of them must leave! They cannot push me in my mother's house! They must leave! All of you guys! Leave now! Leave! Leave! This is my house! Pull me out! In my house! In my house! In my house! No, man, you guys must leave! I don't want to hear anything! You must leave! You must leave! You cannot tell me that I can enter my own home! Man, they must leave now. All of you, you must leave now.
Reverend Chikane, we'll talk about the substantive issues around January 8th in a moment, but the treatment, that incident around the ANC Deputy President in Khayelitsha today, in your eyes, what does it symbolize?
You know, I saw it from the news. I'm not in Cape Town, but I always worried. You know, I ran the presidency and I managed the movements of the president. And I always worried that something could go radically wrong, because if, for instance, somebody moved in the direction of the president and wasn't aware of that, you know, the security will react in a particular way.
Yeah.
I worried even in church. You know, there are people who are not 100% normal who come to church, and at times I worry that that person could stand up and walk into the front, and the security will then react in a particular way. So I think it's a worry that you have, for especially about those who deal with security. Mm-hmm. Although it needs some people to be circumspect and be able to calculate carefully and act in a way that is more gentle, unless if a person is threatening the deputy president or the president. I don't know what happened in that particular situation. But indeed, when you go into a house, you haven't done security check. Normally, when you go to, like, we have an event in the union buildings, we check the houses around to make sure there are no snipers from there. Mm-hmm. But you can't go to somebody's house and check who's in the bedroom and etc. And if a person appeared in a particular way that might be threatening the security, then moves in a particular way. But they could be more gentle if they worked it out that this is a person who stays in that house.
Yeah. The context was somewhat painted earlier, Reverend, by our colleague who was actually in the same room when this incident happened, and it appears that the gentleman is a child of the home, and he had not been in the house, and so he had been visiting his parents, and when he saw the people in his house or at his parents' home, he then demanded that they leave. Of course, the words would not have been captured as to why he felt that way. Hopefully those interviews will come later on, if indeed he was interviewed. But there are those who are going to look at this incident and say the ANC leadership is perhaps being treated in this way because it is reaping the fruits of poor service delivery, particularly in communities such as Khayelitsha, which it says it is deliberately targeting to reconnect with the people?
Yeah, you know, I am more than 1,000 kilometers away from what happened there. So I shouldn't be the person who interpret what happened. Actually, I shouldn't be answering questions about it because I was not there. What I was telling you about is, as a person who managed the presidency, these are the things I always worried about. Even when we have a head of state visiting us, that somebody could make a move that looks like threatening and therefore they react. But I can't interpret that. If you want me to talk about the issue about the views of the people about the ANC, I just want to say now that the veterans have been working on this matter. We have got a strategy. We are going to go to the people and say to the people, the ANC failed you in the last few years because it was captured, corrupt people moved in and employed people who can't do the job, and that's why we have sewer in the street. We're going to go to the people and say that because it's of vital importance. The organization was captured. If we don't accept that, we'll never understand it. And I've always said, it is not the ANC that is the problem, it's the leadership. And so if they capture the ANC, use it for their own interests, which was damaging to this country, we have a huge responsibility, those who are veterans of this movement, to fix it. So we've got a strategy, it has been developed, the details are being worked out, we'll be having discussions with the SG, and it is being accepted in general about what needs to be done. So you'll see a strategy rolling out. And I just want to say now, those who are in positions where they should not be, they may as well as begin to look for a job, because nobody is going to be allowed to sit in a municipality and do nothing and the citizens suffer. We're going to make sure that the backlog of the past is dealt with. The issue of maintenance, which has not been done because people were sitting there not knowing that they even have to do a maintenance because they were there for other purposes, steal money, corruption, and etc. So we're going to do that, and I'm hoping that the January 8th, I wasn't at the NEC, I'm not a member of the NEC, but I'm hoping that the January 8th statement will be the type of statement that is like what OR Tambo would do when we grew up, to give the ANC marching orders about what we're going to do to turn around the situation, regain the confidence of the people, and serve the people. I think that's what the ANC is about, not about failure, not about sewer in the streets, not about people who can't do the job. That's not the ANC.
Yeah. You know, in a way, you've somewhat answered the question I was going to ask about what you think the text of that January 8th statement should say to the people of Khayelitsha when it is delivered on Saturday. But you touch on a crucial point, Reverend, and that is that you are dealing with a party whose governance record in part is to blame from the people who captured the state, as you've said. There are those that sit in municipalities. There is a very, there's a very real example that we can talk about tonight. Ditsobotla municipality, where General Delaray Hospital is, and that's where the Minister of Health was today. The blame is not only on the blocked drains that were clearly neglected, but Sanko, which is part of the mass movement of the ANC, is saying that this is in part because of tenderpreneurs who should have upgraded this hospital. Since it was built, it's never been touched, except for those that come here and pretend to do something. Meanwhile, they are pocketing the money. So when you talk about people who should start looking for jobs at municipal level. There are those who will say perhaps the ones that must start looking for jobs sit at the very top of the government structures, and those are ministers who were in the capture of the state at the time that those were leading it. Should that not start there? And let's name them, if you're brave enough, as a veteran of the party.
Yeah, but you see, I'm a chair of the Integrity Commission, so I mustn't name people in public here. We deal with cases, case by case. The point is, it does not matter at which level you are. If you shouldn't be there, you should not be there. If you have no capacity to do what you are supposed to do, because some of them were placed or deployed to facilitate corruption. Some of them were part of that corruption. This must come to an end. You know, I must say this now, that some have already assisted us because they hived off. And because they've hived off, it's like cancer. You know, you take out the part of the body that's cancerous. There are still spots which remain in the body.
Why is it taking so long to remove those spots?
Well, you need radiation. You know, I had to do this after I did an op in 2016. 3 years ago, this cancer was showing up again. And they said there were spots which remained. And I went through radiation for 6 weeks, 1 hour per day. And we need the ANC to go through that, you know, an intensive radiation to make sure none of the cells that are corrupt remain in the body. And that we should be able to have the overwhelming majority of the people who are in the ANC being committed to what the ANC is supposed to be. It is about to serve, it is about serving the people of this country, deploying the right people. Remember, I was in the government for about 13 and a half years. And during that time, we did what we needed to do. I always say, look at the first 15 years of this government. You will see what effort it was made. We know how to run government. We know how to do it properly. We had to learn a lot, but we did the right thing. Yeah. And we did not employ people for the sake of other purposes other than serving the people. And I think we should go back and learn from our history. And I just want to say, I mean, you would know that at one stage, this country was growing at 5.6% as the economy. There's a time when this country really worked. And we need to bring it back. We need excellence. No place in this country should actually have the stuff that we see about, you know, the sewer and, you know, potholes. You can't have potholes when you've got so many unemployed people. You can't have a dirty township or city when you've got so many unemployed people, which means the money is going elsewhere. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So our problem is not yet money. Our problem is the people. And we need to deal with that effectively. And I must say now that, I mean, the marching orders are clear. The strategy has been developed. The renewal of the organization has started. Political education is happening. Those who don't belong here or were here for other purposes, they may as well as find a home elsewhere, because it's not going to be comfortable to remain in the ANC and you are corrupt.
Those marching orders that are clear, Reverend Chikane, I'd like for us to drill deeper into that. And in part, I'd like to deal with the deliberate strategy to target township areas in a province that is led by the Democratic Alliance, and whether that talks to the mantra of a party that says it is a leader of society. We'll talk about that in a moment. Please stay with us. Let's take a break for a moment. You're watching News at Prime. If you're just joining us, we are wrapping up a conversation with ANC veteran Reverend Frank Chikane. He doubles up as chairperson of the party's Integrity Commission, and that's where it's a structure. It's a body within the party that deals with errant members, if you like. Reverend Frank Chikane, we don't have much time. I'd like to deal with the following issues very quickly. As we wrap up the conversation about members who need to answer for what they are doing, particularly in bringing the ANC into disrepute, the tone that has been set at the start of the year, the Secretary General says Tony Yengeni and the other member, whose name will come to my mind in a moment, Mr. Obed Bapela, they are going to be disciplined for ill discipline. Is the party setting the right tone, you believe? Is this the hour of accountability?
Yeah, as I said, I shouldn't, as chair of the commission, comment about specific cases. I would like to just say the NEC held a special meeting last year. Many people missed it. That's the end of October, to deal with all the reports of the commission for the last 4 years or so, because at times those reports were not acted upon. We don't have to go back to that particular history. But October last year closes that particular history, and that the NEC is committed to deal with the reports, and if there are members who have not behaved in a way that it's acceptable or bring the organization to disrepute, they will be dealt with. But there are specific cases which are disciplinary, which is not what the commission deals with. If it's a straightforward disciplinary matter, it goes to the disciplinary committee for action. And I think that's what the SG was talking about. Yeah. But this is the time. The time has come for people to know that they are not going to continue doing what they were doing in the last few years. It's come to an end, and that we're going to bring the ANC back to the people. Remember, many of the people who didn't vote, it's millions of people, didn't vote for any other party. They were just unhappy about what these leaders were doing. And we're saying now that your ANC is coming back. We're bringing it back to you. And you must take it over and direct it as the people of South Africa to make sure that what happened in the past does not happen. Let me just say, even at the level of branch level, local government level, the ANC members there must be the ones who are the first to say, we don't want this. If they don't, the community must say that. So the people of South Africa are called upon to say, there's somebody who's corrupt there. Please deal with that person. He's misrepresenting the organization, is bringing it to disrepute. We want the people to do that. And I worked as part of the leadership of the UDF during the old days, and we had structures up to street level.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything we did not know. And so this is the time for us to clean up and make sure that the ANC returns to the people.
You spoke about a strategy earlier, and this is the point I'd like to end with. The deliberate strategy to target township areas in a province that's run by the Democratic Alliance. And this is a party that has often been said to be a party that represents white interests. And is that something that you think is the right way, particularly if the ANC says it is a leader of society? And I'm asking this question because there are those who will feel excluded. There are colored communities there. There are white communities. There are some white people who may be drawn to the ANC, but that strategy will drive it away from potential voters. Is that a right strategy?
No, the strategy of the ANC is very clear. There might be individuals who say whatever they need to say, But the strategy of the ANC is very clear. It's the vision is the national democratic revolution, is to make sure this country belongs to all, as the Freedom Charter says, belongs to all who live in it, whether you are white, colored, Indian, African, the way in which we're classified during the apartheid days. In the ANC, there is no white, colored, Indian, African. We're saying that all are South Africans. Indeed, some did terrible things in the past. It is time to fix that, and that we should work together to fix this country. I've met Afrikaners in this country who are saying, there are others amongst us who worked for the demise of the ANC. But actually, the demise of the ANC might risk even our own future as Afrikaners. And so we need a stable country. And the ANC happens to be the entity that has a presence all over the country. If it goes wrong, like it did in the last few years, then it goes wrong. And so we need to correct it so that both whites, blacks, colored, as I say, I was part of the leadership of the United Democratic Front. The population in the Western Cape was 57% colored during that time.
Yeah.
And we recognized that. We worked with the comrades there, Manuel and, the various other comrades that we worked with there to make sure that we have full support. The ANC belongs to them.
Yeah.
They became part of Umkhonto weSizwe.
Reverend Chikane.
Cheryl Corrales and others. So the ANC is not an organization that differentiates and discriminates, but brings together people as one nation, one people, and serves the interests of everybody.
Perhaps to crystallize my question, to make it less clumsy, there is nothing wrong, in your view, with a deliberate strategy to target black communities in Cape Town, as represented by the communities of Khayelitsha and Langa, where ANC leaders are circling around? It's a question.
No, I mean, the ANC has held rallies in different parts of the Western Cape. And wherever it goes, it does work from one community to another. And so I can't expect that the leaders are just in Khayelitsha alone. No. Indeed, we went there and, launched the United Democratic Front in the Western Cape, but we're in an area that was predominantly colored. But it doesn't mean when you are located there, you are only serving those particular people. So the people of Khayelitsha indeed have got concerns, and the ANC must address those concerns. And there are people who say the DA discriminates, the DA focuses on the privileged people. Remember, the ANC is leader of society, so the strategy we have developed says it does not matter who is in government, in that municipality, in the province, at a national level. The point is that the ANC is leader of society. If there are people where the DA governs and are not getting the services they should get, the ANC should be concerned, not because it must fight the DA, but it must fight for the people.
All right.
And where the ANC is in charge, the same should happen. And so the document says that it should not. There's a special unit that has been set up to deal with, troubleshooting and make sure that if there is, like in Ekurhuleni, where there was sewer running in the street, they went in there within 48 hours. They solved that problem. That's what we need. It doesn't matter who's in government, but the people must demand from the people who are in government to offer the services. So if you are in the opposition, it doesn't mean that you have no role. You've got a role to get government to do what it's supposed to do. If you are in government as a party, you've got a role to get the people who are in government to do what they are supposed to do. So nobody must discriminate against people from Khayelitsha. They must be treated the same way like in Molesbury and other places.
Reverend Frank Chikane, thank you very much for your time, a veteran of the African National Congress.